Today we're going to be going over 10 Grail fragrances that every guy should at least try at some point. And I think what a lot of you will realize is once you end up trying one of these, you'll probably decide that you want to get a full bottle. These are amazing, and you've definitely heard about these before. So this is definitely not a hidden gem list. You know, chances are if you've been doing some research, doing some digging, or you've been a part of the community for some time, you've seen these brought up a lot. Some of these are relatively new. Some of these have been around for years. But no matter what way you cut it, you gotta have an understanding of what these smell like because you're gonna hear about them a lot and they're not going away anytime soon. And a few of these are already a testament of that. Like I said, we have 10, but we're not doing this in any order. They're all amazing in their own way, and it would be hard for me to order them. I mean, they're all just incredible must-tries. If you're wanting to do some shopping, I will link everything down below to discounters for you. But let's get things kicked off with Gentleman Reserve Privé by Givenchy. So this one here, it is the pinnacle of the Gentleman lineup, at least to me. The Eau de Parfum, love it. It's great. Still worth trying, still worth owning. But if you want to take it a step further and you want something that's maybe just a little bit more premium, Reserve Privé is one that you need to check out at some point. And it's already a pretty decent price on discounters. You know, it's not crazy expensive like it used to be, and it never really was, to be fair, but retail price is, you know, a bit up there. But discounter price, 100 ml for right around or a little bit less than $100, that is not bad at all in this day and age. And what this is it's the Iris Gentleman DNA with some whiskey and some chestnut in here. It just is perfect. Everything about this one is done right, from the performance, the blend, the quality. Again, it's in this video for a reason. If you haven't tried it yet, you need to. This next one, it's been around for a while, and it's one that I think is currently the best offering within the line. And this line is shrinking as the years go by. There was a point where there was quite a bit of fragrances within this lineup. Not anymore. It's Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum in the 75 ml bottle, which is the only size that's available. A true parfum on this one, you're generally looking at $115, maybe $120. So it's steep, you know, again, that's 75 ml bottle. Stuff is not cheap, but it's well worth it. And none of the Fahrenheits have ever been cheap or necessarily affordable by any means, so not like that's out of the normal here. And like I was saying, you know, there was a point where we had Fahrenheit 32, Fahrenheit Absolute, Cologne, Aqua, and several more. They've been thinning the herd. And I mean, all that's left now that at least you can get readily is the original and the Le Parfum. Everything else is pretty much impossible to find, if not just a little bit spotty. Like every now and then maybe Cologne or Aqua would pop up, but it's few and far between. And luckily, I think out of all of those, this is still one of the best. Now, Fahrenheit Absolute, great stuff. 32 is really good too. It sucks that those are gone, but this Parfum is just as good, really. Now, it still has that violet, kind of fresh, floral-ish overall smell that Fahrenheit has, but what this one does is it adds kind of a suede and a leather and a rum, kind of sweet booziness to it as well, to sweeten it up and make it more appropriate for fall, winter, or just evenings out in general. And it pairs perfectly with Fahrenheit. If you wear Fahrenheit during the day to work, and you got something in the evening that you're going to, spray this one on over top. They layer perfectly. And now you have something that works well for more of a kind of a dim lit evening environment. Definitely something you need to check out. And I also want to point out really quickly that because that one is, you really can't trust what's happening within that lineup. So I wouldn't wait a lot longer on getting a bottle of that, because I have been seeing where it is starting to get a little bit more scarce, right? It's kind of somewhat selling out here and there. And so I would definitely pick up a bottle before it's gone for good. Versace Oud Noir is up next. Now, this one is another one that has been around for a long time. Nothing about this is new. Same thing with the original Versace Oud. Nothing about that's new either. You know, I'm surprised they don't put out more, because Dylan Blue was a star, is still a star. They could have done some Dylan Blue parfums and some elixirs off of that, but I kind of like the slow and steady approach that they're doing with this line. Eros has gotten progressively more popularized as far as the flankers and stuff that they're putting out, but not so much these. Gotta respect it, I guess. But yeah, Oud Noir, it's going to be a little bit more of a premium option, meaning just more expensive. You know, it's pretty much double the price of Dylan Blue / Pour Homme. So while those are about 40 for 100 ml, this one is closer to 70-ish, maybe even a little bit more sometimes. Not quite double the price, but close enough. So, you know, you're paying a bit more, but you're also getting a product that is just vastly different. The focus on Oud here is prominent, and it's a very wearable Oud though. It's kind of in a similar category as Tom Ford Oud would. Very expensive stuff, but I mean, it's Oud for everybody. Like any guy could pull that stuff off, no problem. And most people around you would love how it smells. Kind of the same thing here, except nowhere near as expensive as that. But you get the idea. Typically, Oud scents will be a little bit more expensive. You put that in the scent and you can just charge more for it. But I do like it. I think it's great, and I think it's a very, very big change of pace, not only within this line, but with the rest of Versace offerings too, like all the Eros fragrances and everything like that. This is by far the most mature one, something that you should look into. Okay, this next one also is nothing new at all. 2015, I believe, is the release for this one, which is a flanker in Eau de Parfum. The original would have came out a few years prior to that. So 10 years old, a little bit more than 10 years old, but it's still 100% worth it. It's Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum. So like I said, that EDT came out a few years before, but this one, I believe it was a 2015 release, the Eau de Parfum. So, you know, you're going to hear people say that it's way too popularized, way too played out, and it's not worth it anymore. And I just think that, you know, I don't know how well that holds up. Take a look at Acqua di Gio. Not Profumo, not Parfum, not EDP. Acqua di Gio, 1999, or at least late 90s, somewhere around in their release date. And people are still saying that they wear that every day as their signature scent. Less people in the community, more so people that aren't really involved in the community to have a knowledge base on flankers and stuff, right? That scent is 25 years old or more, and that one's still going crazy. So no, I don't subscribe to the idea that this is just not worth it anymore. I just don't know how often that really happens. Most people that you encounter on your day-to-day basis aren't really gonna know the difference. If it smells good to them, which something like this does, if they're the type of person that's going to say something about it, then they probably will. But this one is just, it's a beautiful tobacco scent. So it's got that tobacco, nice amber in here as well, some light minor woods, like a nice smooth sandalwood in here. But really, at the end of the day, man, it's that tobacco and amber combination that is just, it's a work of art. The stuff is amazing. To me, don't bother with the EDT. You're not saving a whole lot of money, really. It is a bit cheaper, of course, but you're spraying more, you're reapplying more. Maybe you're not all that happy with it, so now you don't wear it as much and it sits there. Don't mess with that. Just get the Eau de Parfum and you're gonna get the best performance that you can get out of this DNA. It's not great either, the Eau de Parfum, but it's gonna be as good as it gets. Tom Ford Ombre Leather and the Parfum variant here. You could go either way. If you like the original better or prefer the price point of the original, get it, okay? Because honestly, between the Parfum and the original, which I think it's an Eau de Parfum, it's not a huge difference, really. And honestly, if I was blindfolded, I could probably tell them apart, but it's not going to be by a landslide. It would be a little bit tricky, though, I do think. What you'll find with the Parfum is actually the florals are a little bit tweaked here. They're actually a little bit more prominent sometimes. It's kind of white floral component in here. You pick up on that a bit more. And then when you compare these back to the original Ombre Leather 16 in the private blend, when you combine kind of the Parfum here and the EDP, you kind of essentially achieve what that original formulation smelled like. So yeah, get whichever one appeals to you the most, whichever one is the better price, which is probably going to be the EDP if that's what you're after. Because even with the Parfum, as far as performance goes, it's a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Is it by a landslide enough to where it's worth jumping to? You know, you're going to have to make the choice there. For me, I just go back and forth between them, whichever one I want, whichever one kind of jumps out at me between the EDP and the Parfum. I'm going to go for it, but it's not something I spend a lot of time on. The point is just getting this DNA into your collection, or at least trying it and having an understanding of what ombre leather smells like, because it's popular. So is Tuscan leather, but that one's a bit more specific, and not everybody's going to really rock with that one in the same way that they could with ombre leather. This one's ultimately very wearable. Herrera Iris Empire is up next. This is their, I think it's confidential collection is what they call these. And, you know, if you're going to spend money on kind of like the expensive tier of designer brand scents, and so by that I just mean these, or, you know, the YSL, like Tuxedo and those, that collection, or the Dior La Collection Privé. Every brand essentially has it. Dolce & Gabbana has it, Gucci, all of that. If you're going to start investing into stuff like that rather than niche, I'm telling you, personally, I think that this confidential collection from Herrera is a great place to start. The presentation is top tier. Magnetic caps, really heavy bottle. I mean, these are, as far as I can tell, custom presentation. I just haven't seen this bottle anywhere else, really. Like I said, magnetic cap there. Just really, really nice presentation. But going further and more importantly, the quality and the uniqueness of the fragrances and the blends within this line are second to none. And it's not just this, but Bronze Tonka, Mystery Tobacco, or it's Mysterious. Which one is it? Mysterious or Mystery Tobacco. I've got it sitting right back there. That one's another great one. Platinum Leather, really good. Virgin Mint, really good. I mean, they're just amazing scents. This one in particular has iris and this nice dark chocolate note with some leather. And I've described it very, very simply as kind of having a little bit of that CH Men Privé type of smell due to the type of leather that they use. So CH Men Privé was a leather scent with whiskey, and beautiful. It was one of my favorite designers. And this reminds me of that. It's like that same type of leather, and it almost gives me just a little bit of this whiskey boozy kick off the top, which it could just be my mind playing tricks on me, but I sometimes feel like I get that. It's just, it's reminiscent of CH Men Privé in one way or another, with a lot of iris and a nice gourmand dark chocolate note. It smells phenomenal. This is one of my favorites within this lineup. It's one of my favorite, more premium tier scents that I own. Whenever it's cold outside and I have a chance, I'm wearing this stuff, and I recommend you check it out. Stronger With You Absolutely by Emporio Armani is another no-brainer. Really, really good. Chestnut whiskey, and of course, a ton of tonka bean in there. It's a very common smell. The whole lineup is. This whole chestnut kind of tonka sweet deal going on is used a lot now. And although this one was kind of ahead of the curve a little bit, same with the original Stronger With You, came out years ago. So they've kind of been dabbling in that space for a while now. A lot of other scents, like some of the Azara Wanteds and stuff, utilizing that type of smell are obviously coming out later, and many others too. But this one, to me, out of the Stronger With Yous, is the best one. It's the one I would go for. The new Parfum is great. I still like this one better though, but I would take the Parfum over the original, and maybe even over Intensely, to be honest. So that one's really good, but absolutely, you just can't really beat this stuff. Great performance. Compliment factor is incredible. The quality is great for the price. This one has finally worked its way down to where it's at a consistent $100, $110 or so, maybe a little bit more, $115 on discounters. You've got that range that varies depending on what sales everybody's running, but you get the idea. It used to be where it was 150 plus if you were lucky, or sold out. That were basically your only two options. It's not the case anymore. Now this next one, it's back from the dead, really. Really, really strange. I was lucky enough to get a bottle of this a few years ago, and I mean lucky, because I like discontinued fragrances. I like hunting down things that are no longer made and that are hard to get. To me, it's kind of fun. And this was one of them. I was so happy that I scored a bottle of John Varvatos Oud. And you guys know my philosophy. If something isn't available, I usually don't feature it unless it's a video dedicated to discontinued scents. So what does that mean? Well, that means this one has been back for a while. 125 ml for around like $60 to $70. Really, really good price per mil on a beautiful work of art. This right here, this is OG John Varvatos. So if you haven't had the opportunity to smell Dark Rebel Rider, and a few of their other, like even John Varvatos Platinum, and again, a few of their other old time, like beginning of the road releases for this line in particular, this is going to get you back. And I mean, when you smell this one, as somebody who spent a lot of time and kind of built up my collection with John Varvatos when I was starting out, man, that is phenomenal. That is familiar. That is just that is when John Varvatos was doing it right. And I hate to say, they're just not really doing things like this anymore, and it's been pretty evident. They've got a few newer ones that are okay, and I would say the one that I like the most of their newer releases is XX Artisan, the gray one, the vetiver scent. But man, they're just not doing it like this. It's a really nice, wearable, spicy, oud, woody, and warm scent. It's great. Great for the price. Not going to be around forever, though, because it's not in production. Somebody somewhere found a whole bunch of it, and now some discounters have it. But I would definitely grab this one and try it. It's really good. Okay, we're down to the last two here. Now, this next one is one that I hate that I love so much, you know, and I'll explain why. It's Chanel Allure Homme Sport Super Leggera. Can we still just think about how bizarre this was? You know, Chanel, they sit silent for years, right? Bleu de Chanel Parfum was their last men's release in their designer line. And then finally, there's word of a new Chanel men's fragrance coming. Everybody's excited. And it's a fresh flanker, essentially, is what this is. And not only that, but it's a limited edition. And that lies the problem for me, is that I love this one. I think it smells amazing. I think it's better than the original Allure Homme Sport. Probably not better than Eau Extreme. There's a lot of kind of a nostalgic feel about that one, but could be close. But yeah, I mean, it's great, but it's not going to be around forever now. So, you know, why? Why do I have to like it so much? Am I going to buy a bunch of backup bottles of it? Probably. Do I really want to? Not really. I'm sure somebody's going to clone it, but that'll be solved. But it's really good. Super, super invigorating, bright and fresh, really nice quality lemon note in here off the top, which just sets it over the edge. This kind of airy, wispy, ambroxan undertone. It just smells like the summer breeze. You know, you finally step outside after a cold winter time, the sun's out, the breeze is kicking up, and it's just gorgeous out. That's what this one is, man. It's like really super leggera. I can't remember. I know some cars, like a Lamborghini Gallardo Super Leggera. So there's something to do with speed, I guess is probably what that word means, but driving top down in your car or something. I mean, that's what this smells like, man. It's really, really good stuff. And again, I hate that I like it this much, but I would definitely consider at least checking it out. Last up for this video is Hugo Boss Bottled Absolute. I mean, you've seen enough of this probably, but I'm telling you, there's a reason why. It's got incense, leather, and patchouli. It's a beauty. It's a really, really good scent that just takes the elixir, which was prior to this, to the next level. Now, the elixir is still amazing. It's still one that's worth trying. People are going to have mixed opinions on whether or not owning the two of them at the same time would be, you know, kind of clashing. It would be kind of redundant. A lot of collecting is that, and you got to figure out for you what your tolerance is for that. I can definitely see where you might not want to own both of them and spend the money on both. You know, you kind of got to pick your favorite. But you might be somebody who likes the individual parts about each to where it's worth it. So do your own digging and research there and kind of come to that conclusion yourself. Me personally, though, I do prefer Absolute, but I have also heard feedback from people who say that they prefer Elixir, given that it's not quite as sweet and as refined as this. Some people want it to be just a little bit more low-key, a little bit more fresh. This one is considerably more rich and full-bodied, and not everybody likes that, you know. Sometimes that could be too intense of a wearing experience. Maybe it's just a bit too strong for you. So that's something to consider. But man, for me, this is it right here. And I've said it before, and I've gone over this, and it looks way better in pictures and in person. But the bottle, I love it. Nice amber color down here at the bottom for that gradient, and then just into a nice dark glass there. Beautiful presentation, even better scent. This stuff is worth trying 100%. And on discounters, usually it's 100 ml for like $98, $100. Really good price too. You're not getting quality that good for that price all that often. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. 10 holy grail fragrances I think every guy should try at some point. I will link all these down below to discounters. If you want to do some shopping, feel free to check out those links and save yourself a ton of money. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.